Hi guys, welcome back to TomTalks. Now, I promised a few months ago that I would be covering as many of the Grammy nominated records as I could, and it's now the week before, and I've not done any outside of the ones I'd done for previous things like the Brit Awards and the Mercury Prize. I am going to be predominantly focusing on the Album of the Year contenders because there's not much time left now. But for the first Grammy nominated album / artist I'm going to cover, we're going to be talking about PinkPantheress' Fancy That, which is the second mixtape from this artist. It follows up 2023's Heaven Knows, their debut album, which was a record that at the time I enjoyed, but I don't find myself really going back to, as the songs from it haven't really stood the test of time. And it's not particularly an album that sticks in my mind, especially when you compare it to Hell With It, which was her debut mixtape, which of course had lots of very good, very catchy songs on it. This record may only be 20 plus minutes, but I feel like it does what it needs to do in that time. And having seen interviews with PinkPantheress, at first I was a bit worried because she did say, I don't care how an album's made, I just put some songs together. But she has said for this record, she kind of took some of the criticism on board and did kind of make this with a flow in mind. And you can definitely see that on this record. As I said, short, there's only 9 tracks here, but it's fun, it's enjoyable, it flows very well, and it's probably her best project so far. And the changes that she's clearly made in terms of the way she makes a project is clearly on display. We start off with Illegal, which was of course the big hit from this record, which she produced alongside Axel Arvid, who features predominantly on this record. Of course, like with most PinkPantheress tracks, there is a prominent sample. This one has Underworld's Dark and Long, which you could hear from the get-go. It's a good song, the sample is used nicely, it pushes the song and the beat along throughout. It's this bouncy and fun garage pop song about being in love with this person, but it feeling illegal, not wanting to tell other people about it, but feeling slightly intoxicated by it all. I really as well like how the breakdown allows the auto-tune choir and the sort of breathy / imitating heartbeat vocals to come through. I like that bit. And towards the end, it really ups the tempo. It's a fun song. I see why this track did what it did. It may not be my favourite from the record. It is a good song, but it's enjoyable, it's addictive, and it's a fun track. It does what it needs to do. We then get Girl Like Me, which is produced alongside Arvid, as well as Count's Ballador. It prominently samples Basement Jacks here with their tracks Romeo and Always Be There. It's got this thumping bassy beat which really gets you going. PinkPantheress is sort of hitting the higher notes, and she gives these much more varied vocal deliveries compared to the last track where she sticks to this one sort of cutesy, very sort of in love, whereas with this one she's talking about life becoming overwhelming and having been done dirty by this person that she previously was in a relationship with or is currently in a relationship with. Bit more of a different theme to Illegal. And the breakdown, which is predominantly a piano, I think that's done really nicely here as well. That's a nice little moment. But what this 2 tracks show and what this record is showing as a whole, PinkPantheress does tend to focus on love, but I feel like she explores it in more interesting ways, and sort of the highs and the lows and the bits in between here. And I think that's, for me, what makes this record stick with you a bit compared to some of her other projects. We then get Tonight, which was my most played song of last year, and for good reason, produced by Arvid and Ballador again. which samples Panic at the Disco, interestingly. I don't know the song, so I'm not 100% sure how the sample works, but I really like the use of strings here, and the G-funk kick drums are used nicely, the catchy keyboard melody, but that old school wobbly bass line throughout, I love it. If you've watched this channel for a bit, you know I love a bit of bass line, and it just really works here on the chorus at the end when it just goes off. It makes this track really bounce, and it just makes you want to, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It's about two people just being afraid to come up to one another, but knowing that they desire one another and they want to do stuff tonight. And I think as well, what I like the most is how well this track builds up towards the drop whenever it comes. It leaves you with feelings of anticipation and want for like the beat to drop, but it does it so well that I think I just have to point it out. But tonight, love this track, great track. There's a reason it's my most played song of the year. Stars, of course, prominently samples the melody and chorus from Just Jack's Stars in Their Eyes, as well as another Basement Jaxx track, Oh My Gosh. And the use of the chorus here is very well done, but I think this bouncy dance pop beat really is also a lot of fun. The two-step kick drums, this sort of tale of, it's kind of in the third person. It's kind of like she's talking about this person, how they're struggling to deal with being obsessed over and being followed. And there's like this little breakdown where this like wobbly bass line comes in, and it's like this person asking for their stuff back and the partner being like this phone conversation. And yeah, it's another track that I just love. Just a lot of fun. But I think as well it explores a topic that the rest of the record doesn't do. But I think what PinkPantheress does really well is she knows how to hook you in with a catchy melody or a really sort of pounding or danceable beat. But I think she's added layers here when it comes to the lyrics. There's a lot more to talk about there, and I think that is one of the biggest improvements she's made. Following an intermission, we then move on to Noises, which samples Nardo Wick, Who Wants Smoke. I think that's used very well here to sort of emphasise the message of the track, which is about hearing people come home when you're alone, not being sure what to do and being quite vulnerable. And she delivers this in this much faster paced delivery, which matches the old school jungle beat, but also fits into this feeling of like being nervous because you're alone or you're about to get intimate with someone, and then you hear that someone's coming and you're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It fits well into like being another sort of way of looking at love here. And yeah, really good track, very fun, bit more straight to the point. I think it's the shortest one on the record, but it's a good one. We then get Nice to Know You. Best bit here is the sample of the Sugar Babe song, particularly the chorus. Fits in really well with this track that's someone who is quite emotional, as shown in the delivery by PinkPantheress, about this breakup. It was nice to know them. And on the second half, it gets a bit more upbeat and faster paced in delivery because she's in denial about it. Like, oh, his status hasn't changed yet. Maybe there's something there. But then it comes back to this feeling of, yeah, no, it is over. It was nice to know you. And it also samples a Jessica Simpson song as well. But the Sugar Babes sample on the chorus is great. It really does the thing. I like as well here the tinny drums, the use of violins and synths, which is really emphasised on the chorus in particular as well, those violins and synths. And the old school UKG sound I really like here as well, which I think matches the Sugar Babes, as both were like quite big things in the noughties. So I think that sort of works very well there. And yeah, it's a really good track. I think PinkPantheress again shows off a bit of her vocal flexibility. And I think she talks about a topic in a bit more depth and a bit more emotional depth as well, which I think makes this track work quite well. We then get Stateside, which sees her team up with The Dare, who predominantly featured on the Charlie XCX track Guess from this album behind me. Oscar Shether, by the way, also features on Nice to Know You. That's another one of the producers. But it samples Groove Armada's I See You Baby, my mom's former ringtone. There's a funny story behind that, but we don't have time to tell it. And I like the very repetitive keyboard melody. It's repetitive in a good way. It gets stuck in your head and it keeps the beat going very nicely. The bouncy kick drums, very wobbly synthy bass. It's a fun little dance pop beat that just works really well. And the kick drum breakdown towards the end as well. That's a really good touch. It's about, you know, meeting this American boy, being on holiday for the first time. They've never met a British girl before and sort of being obsessed with them, sort of having this feeling for them, wondering when you're going to meet again. A very holiday romance type thing, but it's told in this very catchy, enjoyable way. The vocals as well, that's a good touch. And I can see why this has become a big hit, particularly with the Zara Larsson remix of the track. And yeah, it's very good. It's a bit more simple and straight to the point than some of the tracks here, but good. And we close out with Romeo, which ironically doesn't sample the Basement Jaxx song Romeo. It samples their track Good Luck. It's got this pounding drum beat. There's an electric guitar here, which is a bit of a change of pace. There's a tiny, tiny bit of bass here. And it's about you've fallen for this person, they're your Romeo, you've become a bit obsessed with them. And people sort of being a bit like, oh, okay. And it comes back to that theme of obsession again. And the use of strings on the chorus here is really well done. It creates an atmosphere. And it's a nice way to close this record. It's probably not my favourite track here, but it is a decent one that's enjoyable. Maybe because it's talked about this theme before, but in a bit more of an interesting way. But I do like Romeo. Overall, I've said this is PinkPantheress' best record, and I definitely agree with that. I think my gripe here with this record is I think it doesn't go too far beyond catchy, enjoyable songs about love and obsession and breakups. So for me, this album will never truly hit the heights, so to speak. For me, what makes the top tier albums, the 9s and the 10s out of 10s, is something that truly pushes the boat out there, or is truly thought-provoking, or makes you really think about something. And this record does what it does very well. I can't deny that. It's a very good record, and I like everything here to varying degrees. But for me, it just doesn't quite hit the upper echelon, which is why I'm feeling somewhere between an 8 and an 8.5. This is still a great record. It's probably in the top 20, top 15 favourite albums of the year for 2025 anyway. But very good record. PinkPantheress is best. And maybe from here, she can go even further, I'll have to say. But that's my thoughts on Fancy That from PinkPantheress. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If I've been a bit harsh, if you think I've been fair, if you think that this is a piece of rubbish, let me know. But until next time, folks, this has been another TomTalks.